welcome to this edition of Pillars of Progress. I'm Anne-Marie Ganesh. Let's begin with a look at the headlines. Getting the best from the public service, a plan to transform this sector, a facelift for the zoo, and Bonaire gets a community centre. It's everyone's complaint what they see as the lack of service coupled with the slow pace of getting anything done at government offices. In today's fast-paced world, it's extremely frustrating to deal with red tape and bureaucracy, and in some instances, officers who appear unhelpful and unsympathetic. This situation has gone on for decades, but today there's an attempt to change this culture with a move to transform the civil service. This is a topic that is probably a sore point for some, not only because of bad experiences in public offices, but maybe we've heard about transformation before. Not surprising, since there have been no less than 13 attempts at public service reform going back to the early 1950s. The Minister of Public Administration, Rudrawati Nangosain Ramgoolam, told it like it is, even pointing to a recent survey done by Market Facts and Opinions, which shows a high level of dissatisfaction among citizenry with the quality and manner of delivery in the civil service. Rest assured, though, all of this is about to change. Trinidad and Tobago get ready for a new and revamped civil service.
Our civil service is one that must be collaborative and aimed at fostering private-public sector partnerships to create a platform for competitiveness and long-term viability. Equally, an efficient and highly customer-oriented civil service is a critical requirement if the government, our government, is to fulfill its role in Trinidad and Tobago today.
So with this in mind, the Minister and her team have been working round the clock to resolve the issues in the public service. The solution comes in the form of the Green Paper on transforming the civil service through renewal and modernization. It is now out for public comment and is also available on the Ministry's website for 6 weeks. Then it becomes a white paper. The importance of this green paper was evident at the Hilton Trinidad, where civil service leaders, parliamentarians, captains of industry, and representatives of the labour movement gathered. The minister wanted to get the point across that transformation is a continuous process and not a one-time event.
Our emphasis is therefore on reinvigorating this service, igniting the minds of public officers, developing competencies, and introducing new systems, procedures, and processes which would foster enhanced performance and service delivery. It is with this vision in mind that we have focused the renewal and modernization program on 6 key areas.
These include strengthening the centre of government, human resource management, leadership and management development, service delivery, facilities and real estate management, and information and communication technology. Speaking of which, Minister Gosain Ramgoolam was proud of the strides in ICT which her ministry has made in the 1 year the government has been in office.
Trinidad and Tobago jumped an unprecedented 16 places in the 2010-2011 World Economic Forum Global Information Technology Report ranking. We also achieved a 19-place progression on ICT usage as a consequence of major advances in individual and government components of this index.
In her words, the Ministry of Public Administration could be considered an engine room, and its primary goal is to facilitate the institutional development of the public service. And transforming, it certainly is.
So we can safely say that we have reduced our rental costs by approximately $12 million over the last year. In addition, our employees are now located in modern facilities on prime real estate, close to the centers of transportation, such as the water taxi and the bus services, very critical for our employees to move to and from work on time and within time.
Minister Gosain Ramgoolam also wants to see effective collaboration among stakeholders. She is confident, like those involved in this process, that the Green Paper is a step in the right direction. So if you'd like to take a look at the green paper, it's available on the ministry's website, www.mpa.gov.tt. And even as work begins on transforming the public service, there are indications that the changes are already taking place. At least that's the opinion of Professor of American Government at the University of Pittsburgh, Guy Peters.
The evidence that I've seen for Trinidad and Tobago and the evidence for most countries over the last 15, 20 years is that public services have improved and in some cases have improved markedly. So the public sector is in general providing better public service. The trouble is people's expectations tend to grow more rapidly. They want more. They want better public service. They want better private service. But they particularly want better public services. So the need then is to find a way to try to balance these expectations that ordinary citizens have for the services they're delivered with the realities of what any government can do and resource constraints.
Maybe you've heard of it, the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB. Its purpose is to contribute to the economic growth and development of the region, especially those with special needs. One of its taglines is reducing poverty through social and economic development. Against this background, let's share with you the significance of the 41st Annual General Meeting held right here in Port of Spain.
But the Caribbean Development Bank has been a quiet institution that neither solicits anger nor praise. It has been a pillar for development financing in Trinidad and the Caribbean and has been the cornerstone for setting the conditions for economic development in our region. There is no doubt that it is a premier institution, have done us well, and the region is proud of what it has achieved.
With this foundation, he wants the region, and more specifically Trinidad and Tobago, to build on this by starting with the use of local talent for the country's development.
We have become somewhat tired with the argument that there are strategic imperatives that must be followed. We have reset our priorities and have reset our priorities on more than one occasion. Today I want to propose that we consider what I call drilling down for development. For the real challenge that we are facing will be derived from our ability to drill down for development in our nation. In other words, a recognition that development cannot be imported, and a realization that we must unearth the natural entrepreneurship, talent, and capabilities of our people.
Several heads of state of CARICOM are attending the meeting as they look at ways in which the bank can play a role in addressing the developmental issues facing the Caribbean region. John Victor for Pillars of Progress.
Meantime, the Caribbean is being urged to adopt some of the goals this country has identified as the path to development. It's believed this will help the region deal with some of the issues facing the Caribbean.
The direction the government is pushing, with emphasis on human capital as well as innovation. As the Minister of Planning, Economic and Social Restructuring and Gender Affairs, this is his area of responsibility, one he wants the Caribbean Development Bank to consider as it enters a new phase.
It's my hope that this meeting will generate the type of discussion that will result in new and strengthened partnerships amongst regional and non-regional stakeholders as we seek to improve the quality of life of the citizens of our region.
Dr. Tiwari, who is also the chair of the Board of Governors of the CDB, says he has no doubt that the economic fortunes of the Caribbean will improve, stating that the challenges are poverty, the issues of food and energy security, and climate change, among others. The president of the CDB agrees with him.
I mean a generalized sense of losing control of their destiny in a number of critical areas of social and economic life. we could classify this anxiety under the broad rubric of insecurity. Insecurity about their economic situation, insecurity due to the impact of climate change on their lives, and personal insecurity due to rising crime and violence.
He says the bank will, however, continue its work to change the fortunes of the Caribbean people.
In general, the PBL, as we call it, sought to promote fiscal and debt sustainability while strengthening the framework for macroeconomic management, advancing the impact of the bank's poverty reduction efforts, and promoting social partnerships. Our approval of $23.7 million in new loans to facilitate student loan financing demonstrated clearly that human capital development remains a high priority for the bank.
This year, Dr. Smith expects borrowing member countries to return to economic growth. His is a view supported by Minister Tiwari, who is also urging the bank to focus on competitiveness, the green of new and existing economies and other areas of development as identified by Trinidad and Tobago. Sherilyn Lewis for Pillars of Progress.
We're taking a break, but stay with us because coming up, the launch of biosciences, putting systems in place to allow us to produce more food.
Abuse is when the big people that I love
tell me things that hurt my feelings.
Abuse is when
my mommy and daddy hit me for no reason.
Abuse is when I feel neglected.
Abuse is when my rights are ignored.
There is no reason why our children should be abused. They are our future. The Ministry of the People and Social Development is committed to the protection of children's rights. We must safeguard their future. Together and together alone, we can do it.
Children have rights too. There is no excuse for child abuse.
Good morning, Mr. Smith. Here are the files you requested.
Thank you, Emily. I heard there's a tax amnesty at the Inland Revenue and we need to catch up with the company's outstanding taxes.
You're right. But I've noticed we didn't file corporation tax returns, nor did we pay business levy, green fund levy, and corporation tax for the past 5 years.
Yeah, I know, but I will have this sorted out soon. When is the deadline?
The amnesty ends May 31st.
May 31st.
So, that gives us an opportunity to file the company's tax returns now and pay all outstanding taxes to avoid penalties and interest.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's good to see an employee who takes interest in her work.
I'm just doing my job, sir.
The Board of Inland Revenue advises that an amnesty is in effect from September 8, 2010 to May 31, 2011. Be wise. Take advantage of this opportunity. Inland Revenue Division, changing the way we interact with you.
When you are out shopping, avoid carrying items or exposing large sums of cash. You can be targeted by criminals. Use debit cards to make your purchases whenever possible. Remember, crime prevention is everyone's business. A message from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
You're viewing Pillars of Progress, and thanks for staying with us. These are the figures. 925 million people, or just about 13% of the world's population, is going hungry. The Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, which leads the United Nations efforts to defeat hunger, says this situation has developed partially because of a neglect of agriculture and the significant increase in food prices. There are no specific figures for Trinidad and Tobago, but this is a road no one wants to go down, so all is being done to build the agribusiness sector. This will hopefully boost food production in this country. Natalie Briggs reports.
The University of Trinidad and Tobago launched its BAFT facility today. This stands for Biosciences, Agriculture and Food Technologies. What the facility will do is train this country's new generation of farmers. Food Production Minister Vasant Bharat says the youth are the future of the nation's agricultural sector.
Technology are synonymous with each other, simply because youth is filled with great passion, excitement, energy for new things. And whilst technology is very important, the issue is how we actually harness that technology, how we actually use that technology to make wise decisions that will ensure the longevity and the long-term aspect, the long-term needs of the agricultural sector are met.
This was especially pertinent given the world's food security issues and citizens' complaints about rising food prices.
And what greater way to put technology to use than to feed the world? Floyd Nichols just spoke briefly about the issues with food production, food security across the world today. And we at the Ministry have been working assiduously towards creating an enabling environment to ensure that we can do our part in Trinidad and Tobago.
Assistant Professor at the UTT, Dr. Bibi Ali, says the program and facility offers students a wide choice.
The University of Trinidad and Tobago really facilitates the cross-fertilization of ideas. So we've been working very closely with the Faculty of Engineering across all the campuses. And of course, as a university, we're offering higher degrees, masters and PhDs as well. Because of the very selected faculty that is here at BAFT, which was selected specifically for academic rigor, we have a lot of PhDs who publish, but in addition to that, we have industrialists, people who are working in the industry, and people who are agri-entrepreneurs themselves. So we are the mentors. We are the mentors for the students who are going to develop and incubate these ideas. So at the end of 3 years, our students come out not just with an academic degree, but with a business idea and a business plan ready to go into agribusiness, and we do intend to support them.
Meanwhile, Minister of Science, Technology and Tertiary Education, Fazil Karim, says agriculturalists should be better able to use technology to produce more food.
That's the kind of connectivity we're talking about, not only in terms of computers. That's the kind of science and research we're talking about. And that had been, I had seen that at Londonville very many years ago. So I'm saying that even in terms of solar panel, what is it are we equipping the farmers with today? In terms of modern technology. If we want to move and we want to up the ante in agriculture, these are some of the developments we must engage in.
And the ceremony couldn't have ended with a more appropriate gesture. Natalie Briggs for Pillars of Progress.
From agriculture, let's take a look at the issue of governance. It's been 1 year since this country elected its first female Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar. She came into office on the campaign of change and has promised to change the way things are done. But what has been accomplished? It's a question posed today at the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies. Let's hear what they came up with following that panel discussion. Sherilyn Lewis has that story.
The issue of governance is never an easy one. It means managing expectations from competing groups even as citizens' needs are met. No one would understand those factors better than the man who is the leader of government business in the House of Representatives, Dr. Rudal Munilal. Part of his role is taking forward the government's parliamentary agenda, and after 1 year at it, he's confident that there are only improvements to come.
Many of us, in the national community and in the party, were very concerned with that issue of holding together, since we had a history to look at. And after 1 year, we are convinced that the Prime Minister, the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, demonstrated the skill and the tenacity, but the compassion as well, to bring everyone together and to keep them together.
1 year after the People's Partnership formed the government, the University of the West Indies held a Salises Forum to discuss the achievements and shortcomings of the government. Minister Munilal says it is important for citizens to adjust to this new style of politics.
We have had some, leaders speaking, one saying one thing and another leader may say something else. But But the country here, and I'll come to the post-colonial legacy of party politics and government in a few moments, but the country had always been in a state, in a settled state. It may have been a bad state, but even if something is bad, you could be settled in bad. And there was this settlement on the unitary political party, that it will be a monolithic unitary political party with the iron law of oligarchy, I think we use, with that model of the maximum political leader. And it is epitomized in Trinidad's history, in Trinidad and Tobago's history, by not a dog bark.
And that pretty much summed up today's forum at the Sir Arthur Lewis Institute of Social and Economic Studies at the University of the West Indies. Whether good or bad, with 4 more years to go before the elected term is out, it's clear this debate will continue in the public domain for a long time to come. Sherilyn Lewis for Pillars of Progress.
And very soon, commuters who take the bus daily will be able to use their cell phones to locate when the next bus is coming. This GPS system is a new initiative the PTSC is undertaking in an effort to improve the lives of commuters.
A GPS tracking system. So pretty soon, once everything goes according to schedule, you're going to be able to locate on your smartphone, on a screen nearby or in a terminal, the location of the closest bus to your location. So you'll be able to decide if it's worth your while to stand up and wait for the bus or to take some alternative form of transportation.
The PTSC chairman says this is not all commuters can look forward to.
Other enhancements such as Wi-Fi in the bus terminals and so on. Hopefully some additional buses will be introducing handicap buses in a short while before the end of the year.
Meantime, visiting the Emperor Valley Zoo. Now, we all have our favorite memory, whether from a school tour or a family visit. The zoo has made it on our list of activities at one point or the other. One person writing on her experience on TripAdvisor described it, and these are her words, a beautiful paradise located in a crowded city. Schools continue to use the zoo as an educational tool to bring alive their classroom lessons. Whatever the purpose, this is an important institution in Trinidad and Tobago. But as with everything, there's room for improvement, and that's exactly what's happening. John Victor attended the opening of Phase 1. Here are the details.
It provides a welcome respite in a capital city teeming with activity on a daily basis, an attractive green space, a link to nature that not only provides rest and relaxation, but also has been a center of learning and research for tertiary level students. And from its very modest beginnings in 1952, the Emperor Valley Zoo is set for a major upgrade by the Ministry of Tourism.
This upgrade project is bringing major transformation to our zoo facilities. Upon its completion, it is anticipated that what started out in 1952 with the gardens covering an area of 15 acres and consisting of about 10 cages and 127 animals would become a first-class facility. The new facilities at the Emperor Valley Zoo makes a substantial contribution to improving the urban environment of Port of Spain.
The tourism minister feels the upgrade allows the zoo to fit well into the country's recent international recognition as a national heritage destination. And apart from the visitor input, both local and foreign, estimated at over 250,000 annually, the Emperor Valley Zoo has provided other benefits as well.
We don't only attract visitors. For years, all the folks who do things like zoology and all those things at the university, this is where they came to get specimen to carry out tests and observation on real animal and other types of bits of exhibits, so that we also provide that sort of learning environment. So when you look at the zoo and we talk about development, it really is as far-reaching as you can imagine.
Phase 1 of the facilities enhancement and development project includes such attractions as the Hummingbird Garden, the new giant otter enclosure for one of the world's endangered species, the Flamingo Pool, and enhanced public facilities. It was completed at a cost of $15.6 million. Phases 2 and 3 of the project are expected to be completed by September 2011. John Victor for Pillars of Progress.
And also on a light note, the Ministry of Community Development has released its 2011 Best Village Calendar. In a statement, the ministry says the competition is currently in its preliminary stages and will run until June. Interested? Well, the competition is divided into 4 main categories. These are Country Folk Games, La Reine Rêvée or Miss Best Village, Poetry, Short Story and Folk Presentation, and Handicraft and a Food Fair. The competition ends in September with its signature event, Le Grand Affair, at the Queen's Park, Savannah. And that's all we have time for. I'm Anne-Marie Ganes, inviting you to join me again as we continue our look at the government's work. Do remember this is streamed on news.gov.tt, where there are also past episodes available for viewing. And repeats of today's program are also shown every day on TV6 at 11:40 a.m., on CNC3 at 11:30 and 102 on CNMG. This has been Pillars of Progress, a look at the work the government is doing as it implements the development plans for the nation. On behalf of all of us at the Government Information Services Limited, goodbye.